Tuesday night at 9, what is it? It's way past my bedtime, so I'm sorry.
We're all totally up with it. So let's talk a little bit about Marilyn and Rabid, and then we can go up to other aspects of her career. And if you guys have any questions out there, feel free to wiggle your hand in the air. So originally, Sissy Spacek was supposed to play the role of Rose, but she was deemed a little too freckled, Texan, and mousy. So, as we know, it went to Marilyn. Can you explain a little bit about that process and how she ended up in the role?
Yeah, so it's also really nice hearing my velvety dulcet tones over the sound system, so you're all welcome. But so David Cronenberg originally wanted Sissy Spacek after seeing her in Terrence Malick's Badlands, and it was deemed by the producer of the film, Ivan Reitman, who went on to direct Ghostbusters, amongst other things. I think he just passed this year, too. He recommended Marilyn Chambers because he had heard through the grapevine that she was looking for a quote-unquote legitimate film to establish herself as a serious actress. And David Cronenberg was tickled to think that she would consider his films legitimate, especially considering this was his second feature film. But Ivan Reitman said, look, she's a name, we can afford her, we'll bring her in for an audition, and if you don't like her, we won't use her. But she came in for an audition, and he was really taken with her. And I had a chance to speak with him, David Cronenberg, in January of this year. And he flat out told me the reason he wanted to talk to me was because he has such fond memories of working with her 45 years later. And she really made a positive impression on him. So it's a shame they didn't do more work together.
Absolutely, amazing. Now, was there anything that went a little bit beyond the professional relationship with David Cronenberg and Marilyn Chambers, or that was not in the cards?
No. No. At the time, Marilyn was married to and managed by a man named Chuck Traynor. That name might be familiar for you cinephiles out there because he was previously married to and managed another adult actress named Linda Lovelace, who was in a film called Deep Throat. I see a lot of nods, so that's good. And they were Linda Lovelace and Marilyn Chambers were the first two porn stars. There was no such thing as a porn star before they came on the scene. But Chuck was not a good guy. I asked David Cronenberg about him, and he said that he pretty much stayed out of the way. Throughout the production, although he was 99% sure Chuck was carrying a gun with him at all times. There is a scene in a shopping mall where everyone runs out after, I'm not going to give any spoilers, and there is a guy in a puffy blue coat, that's Chuck Traynor, so you try to spot him, but there was nothing nefarious going on between, yeah.
All right. So she got a lot of pretty good reviews.
She did, yeah.
Now, what do you think in her past life really brought out that realism in her performance? What do you think she was maybe basing that off of, just off of what you know about how she was brought up and stuff?
Anything
specific?
Well, she was always an exhibitionist, and she was a junior Olympic diver and a junior Olympic gymnast. And was even being scouted for the '68 Olympics. And so she liked the attention, and you have to be an exhibitionist to want to fuck on film, you know. So I think that was part of it. She also just sought she had a father complex, to oversimplify it, and wanted an older man's approval because she was very much in love with her father. And I think Chuck fulfilled that, and David Cronenberg to a degree. But she had her own version of method acting during this. She has to cry during a couple of scenes, and David Cronenberg didn't actually direct her, apart from saying that you need to cry, Chuck Traynor would go over to her and say, remember when your cat died? And that was kind of, and she would cry on cue thinking of that. So it was her own version of method acting, which she did study, and I'm sure came in handy during some of the X-rated films later in the 80s. But I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good answer. Yeah, good old Chuck Traynor with the sadistic intervention.
Yeah, he was cool.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your book and
Sure.
when we can expect to see it, what we can hope to see inside of it, and what revelations maybe?
Yeah, sure. Self-promotion. Here we go. So the book is coming out in spring of 2024 from Head Press, which is the perfectly named publisher for a book about a porn star. And but it's really about her life and career. I'm trying to dispel the notion of the porn star myth that has followed her even after her death. And but it's really about, she had a much more varied career than people realize. She did Broadway, she did theater, she had her own TV show in the 80s, a dramatic soap opera on the Playboy channel, You're All Welcome, and the only existing copy is in my closet, so on VHS, so that's really cool, but it's really bad, just for the record. But she also recorded a disco single, because the 70s, and anyone who is a personality in the 70s recorded a record or a single, and disco was especially popular. There was a porn star who had a big pop disco hit called More, More, More. How do you like it? How do you like it? You all know what's up. That was a porn star, Andrea True, and so Marilyn Chambers decided to do a disco single, and I bring that up because about 25 minutes into the film, the leading man, Frank Moore, is in a garage or workshop or something, and he has the radio on in the background, and that is Marilyn Chambers' disco single playing in the background. It's called Benihana, and there is a direct connection to the restaurant chain, and it is available for your streaming pleasure, so please enjoy. But I really hope to show the way that we pitch this is it's the story about, it's a celebrity biography about a woman who happened to do adult films, not a book about a female porn star. So that's the overall goal, and it should be out in the spring. And there are a couple pieces that you can read now. If you are horror fans, you might be familiar with the Dark Side magazine. It's both print and digital. There's an article this month, issue 237, that I wrote about Rabid specifically. And if you know the San Franciscan magazine, beautiful magazine, issue number 6, which still might be available, if not, it's online. I wrote a piece for that issue about Marilyn Chambers' life and her connection to San Francisco. Some horror movie trivia. This was not Marilyn's first non-X-rated film. She did 2 before she did Behind the Green Door, and one was The Owl and the Pussycat with Barbra Streisand and George Segal, and another one was a film called Together, which was directed by Sean S. Cunningham, and she did it as a favor because he was her neighbor. They grew up next door to each other down the street, and he employed a young Wes Craven to do some editing and do some assistant directing, I think. And the film's called Together. It's only available in a German-dubbed bootleg version online because Sean Cunningham hates the film so much, and I even asked him if I could see it, and he said absolutely not. He hates the film. But she does because she was a diver, she does a beautifully filmed slow motion dive scene, fully nude, which she did as a favor to them because they were neighbors growing up. But the money they used, that Sean Cunningham and Wes Craven made on Together, they used to finance Last House on the Left, which came out after Together. So there's your horror trivia for the evening. Thanks.
Does anybody out there have any for Jared?
Apart from my friends, who I've already instructed to ask questions. And my mom's not here, so otherwise she would ask questions.
No? Nobody?
How did you connect with her initially?
What was the question?
How did you connect with her initially?
How much time do you have? Short version, when I was 13, I went snooping in my grandfather's dresser drawer looking for adult material. I found it. It was a VHS called Marilyn Chambers Private Fantasies #2. I watched it. I was instantly taken, not sexually, obviously, as a gay man, but she has star quality, and I was like, yeah, let's do this. So fast forward to 2011 and the Yerba Buena Center. 2011, that was about 350 years ago now. They did a retrospective called Smut Capital of America, which San Francisco was in the late 60s and 70s, and showed X-rated films, both gay and straight, and they ended the series with Resurrection of Eve, which is the film Marilyn and the Mitchell brothers made after Behind the Green Door. And not if, but when you go home tonight and watch porn on your computer, check out Resurrection of Eve, because the orgy scene at the end, the setting might look familiar. That's the Great American Music Hall. So the next time you go to a concert there, just know that 50 years ago, people were fucking right there. So, but when I saw that movie, there's something that just clicked, and I thought, I need to find out everything I can about this woman, because I didn't have anything else going on at the time, so yeah. And here we are.
Anybody else know?
Could you speak a little bit about her political career?
Her political career, thank you for asking. She did run for Vice President of the United States. And that was in 2004 when George W. Bush was elected. She and her running partner got 863 votes, which is probably 863 more than he thought she would get. And a porn star in the White House in 2004 seemed impossible. And then something happened in 2016, and then it doesn't seem so impossible anymore. But unfortunately, she's not here. But she did run for public office. And in 1999, then Mayor Willie Brown declared it Marilyn Chambers Day in San Francisco in July. So that's just another reason to love this city so much, because what other city would honor a porn star and give her own day in the city and county of San Francisco, so. I'll be here after, and I could talk for hours about her, so yeah, happy to answer any questions after, and thank you again for having me.
Thank you so much for being here, Jared. We really appreciate it. Everybody, enjoy the movie. Please remember, don't talk or text. Feel free to join us for future Alamo events. Next week for Terror Tuesday, we're going to be watching Child's Play, as you saw, the original. And then the week after that, I'm going to be back up on the stage hosting the oft-forgotten 1986 film Spookies. So, yeah, we'd love to see you guys for those. As far as tonight goes, everybody have an excellent night and enjoy Rabid!